with Sonny.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakfast at the Derby. For the next 7 days, FanDuel TV is bringing you live coverage and taped coverage. We're going to get all the final preparations of the contenders in Kentucky Derby 151. And it all starts today, as in the next 24 hours, we are expecting a bulk of works for most of the contenders. But we're going to take a look back at some of their final preps coming into this point, including Rodriguez, the speedball who won the Wood Memorial for Bob Baffert. We'll take a look at how he stretched his legs 5 furlongs in a minute in 2. We'll have analysis from Simon Bray and Joe Talmo here on the set. We're also going to take a look at Tapan Street, your Florida Derby champ, lightly raced for Brad Cox, but exceedingly talented. And Sandman for Mark Cassie, your Arkansas Derby winner. We'll see if he can make his influence felt on this run for the Roses. And finally, journalism. His last work and then his final work coming up, as he is expected to hit the track here in the next 24 hours. I can't do it alone. I am joined here on set by Simon Bray and jockey Joe Talmo and a team of reporters scattered throughout the grounds here at Churchill Downs. We will have Caton Bradar, Gabby Gaudette, and Andy Biancone, who will be saddling a couple on the undercard for Derby Day as well. And of course, Maria Montgomery bringing us all the action from the front side as we have Dawn at the Derby as well. But let's bring it back to the set here. I'm joined by Simon Bray and Joe Talmo. This is where the rubber hits the road, my friend.
Yep.
The field is basically set. We're just seeing how they're coming in.
Yeah, I mean, these are the anxious moments. People have spent a lot of time, basically since the day after the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, pointing to the Kentucky Derby. A lot of water under the bridge, and these last 10 days can be crucial. I mean, final workouts, preparation, how horses react to shipping into Churchill Downs. There's a lot on the line these next 10 days.
And Joe, this is your first time on the set, but you've been on that track a number of times with Derby contenders and major stakes races. What are you going to be looking for from these horses as they get set for the Derby?
Well, I mean, especially this last work is so crucial. You don't want to go too fast, but you definitely don't want to go too slow. So, I mean, it's definitely a sweet spot to get them at their absolute peak on Derby Day. So that's what I'm excited to see. If a horse goes way too fast, did they do too much, or, you know, did they go 103, 104 and not did enough?
And this year, the way they're doing it, Simon, they're going to have a special time on the track for the Derby and Oaks contenders to work. We've had a little bit of rain. We've had some showers. They had to seal the track yesterday. We had a cloudburst late in the afternoon and overnight. Right now, the track is looking muddy. They might float it around 9 o'clock and see what they can do, but this tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, it's got some moisture in it, and the weather over the next 3 or 4 days and into the end of next week is intermittent showers, so they're going to have to deal with that. But as Joe said, most of the heavy work is done. It's just the fine-tuning right here. So, you know, Bill Mott earlier this week, the trainer of Sovereignty, said, you know what, I can work Sunday or Monday. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to try and navigate and pick the best spot.
There you can see they're trying to resurface it right now. The track just closed, but we are going to have that all-important hour of works coming up, and we'll let you know as they hit the track. We're going to get a number of these works live, and we talk about how crucial the last work is, but it's actually the second to last work going in that we'll take a look at, and we'll do a lot of comparison. Let's take a look at the current Derby leaderboard. And we're calling it a leaderboard. Entries are tomorrow. They're going to draw the card. We don't exactly know who's in, who's out. There's a couple of horses that are on the fence about whether they're going to run or not, or whether they're going to enter or not. And you have a number on the AE list at this point from 21 out that would love to get in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest name on that board that's not in the Derby right now is number 23, Baeza. I mean, a high-price yearling, lightly raced, got a ton of talent, and he's sitting on the outside looking in. But a lot can change between now and Derby Day. I know, Joe, you've been at the center of that with I Want Revenge. Morning line favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Scratch the morning of, right?
Yeah, the morning of. I found out about 7:30 in the morning that morning. So anything can happen. Literally, you don't know you're going to race into the Derby until you're in the starting gate. And even last year, I was actually number 21 on the also eligible and didn't get in. So that whole week, I was kind of antsy and you know, hoping to get in and didn't get in. So again, anything can happen.
We are going to have a look at some of those works, and we saw Scott Hazelton out there at Keeneland. He's going to be bringing us, he's got one of the most important jobs today because he's the only one on site at Keeneland to bring you a shot of Grande, who's expected to work today for Todd Pletcher.
Yeah, Mike Rapoli, again, he's trying to, you know, jump into the record books along with Mage and Justify, only the 2 recent horses that didn't run at 2 to try and win the Kentucky Derby. So that's an important work for him.
And there's a look at Dawn at the Derby. So fans have been coming into the track all week long to get a look at these Derby contenders, stretch their legs on the track as we get set for one of the greatest spectacles in all of sport, Kentucky Derby number 1 51. So as they resurface the racetrack right now, we await for those Derby contenders to come out. I know, Simon, there's a couple of horses you really want to take a look at today. There's a couple of horses that you want to take a look at that second to last work and then the last work and be able to do the comparison.
Yeah, and the comparison and look at some of these. I think the biggest admonition we need to make at the start of this show is that, parachuting in here and watching a horse work one time, you can't do that. You've got to have a reference point. So, I've gone back and looked at a lot of these works and compare them because, if a horse acts up every morning and we see it today for the first time and comment on it, that doesn't do it justice because maybe that's his behavior. He does it each and every day. So I think comparison is key. I picked a couple of them. Sovereignty is one at the top of my list. I'd like to see how he worked earlier this year compared to how he's coming into the Derby, and we'll show you that a little later on. And believe me, there's a dramatic change. That's a horse who's really improving and figuring out what, being a racehorse is meant to be.
So, Joe, you've been in a situation where the weather has had an effect on works. At this point, when you're seeing a track like this, is it just each individual trainer's preference as to whether they want to work on this track or wait the day? Are some just going to be more married to the timeline than the surface, or are some going to worry about the surface more than the timeline?
Yeah, a lot of trainers, I think it's just going to be trainer-based, really. I mean, some guys really, like this actually doesn't look too bad. I think it's drying out a little bit, so it's not overly sloppy, but I think there's some trainers that wouldn't mind working on this. On the flip side, I think others might wait a day or two just to be on the cautionary side. And based on horses, too. Some horses absolutely love working on a track like this, and some horses absolutely don't. So I think it's horse by horse, too.
Yeah, you got to take it on a horse by horse, trainer by trainer case, Mike. Absolutely. And some trainers will they're looking ahead to what the weather is in a couple of days, saying, well, maybe I won't work today. The weather's going to be fine in 48 hours. I'll just sit and wait.
A trainer who knows a thing or two about winning the Derby is standing by right now with our reporter, Andy Biancone.
The Oaks, Kenny, we're expecting to see Torpedo Anna work today, as well as Take Charge Milady, putting in their final preps before next weekend.
Well, we're sorting through what they're doing with the racetrack this morning. We thought they were going to harrow it and open it, but it looks like they're going to seal it and then maybe drag it. But Take Charge Milady, we're kind of dealing with a little bitty issue. She's got the equivalent of what I'd call a bad hangnail on her one foot, inside of her right foot. We're not worried about how she hits the ground on it so much. She's got just a small seepage there, and we're going to push her to tomorrow. And when we work her tomorrow, we're probably just going to do something long and steady as opposed to speed work. That's kind of a tricky one, but we were dealing with this going into the fantasy, and we had to scratch her out of the fantasy. That gave us an extra week to sort it out. She ran really good in the Ashland, but this has kind of been ongoing for the last couple of months we've been dealing with.
What is the standard protocol when horses have just a tiny hangnail like this?
Well, 3/4 of their shoe, which we could show you a picture of, I suppose, and then you could also stitch it or patch it. We stitched Render Judgment a little earlier in the winter, and I shared that on Twitter at one point in time. And this is a filly that hers is similar, but these are just details that we deal with regularly, and fortunately or unfortunately, the timings are a little rough. But we'll get through it. We think we'll make the race.
And comparatively speaking, you think it would be better for her to work on obviously a fast, regular track versus kind of a sealed, muddy one like today?
Well, it's hard to say. What you don't want to do is that if she hits it wrong, she could split it from the top to the bottom. But right now, it just seems to be located, it's stayed at the top. And as long as it doesn't move, then it's okay. And it seems to be much more superficial. But look, I've always laid it out there, and this is one of the things we deal with. But it's not a bone issue whatsoever. It's just like I said, just a small location at the top of her coronet band.
Will Torpedo Anna work regardless of the condition of the track today, or will you also push her tomorrow?
I'm planning on working her. I'm going to look at it here in a minute and see what it looks like before we back up. But she just needs a happy half mile. She's very, very uncomplicated. We'll let Brian's going to get on her, and he'll back her up and, like I said, break off the half-mile pole. More than likely, we'll go ahead and go. This filly will run her work on about anything.
Kenny, you're the best. Thank you so much for the update.
All right, you're welcome.
Back to you.
Okay, Simon, as a trainer,
Yep.
I'm sitting at home, I'm hearing this, I'm like, oh, what is all this?
Right.
Is this big deal, little deal, no deal, something in between?
Okay, let's start at the top. First of all, appreciate Kenny McPeak's honesty, because you don't get that from a lot of trainers. And it's right. I mean, this is things that trainers, as a former trainer, used to deal with all the time. Because it's Kentucky Derby or later in the year Breeders' Cup, you get to hear about it. He's very open. So what he's talking about is basically, I wouldn't consider it a quarter crack yet, but it's the start of a quarter crack. And what that means is on the hoof of the horse has kind of a bony a shell on the outside of the hoof. It's like the fingernail. And what happens, if you get a split fingernail, you know, if your fingernail starts to split and it cracks open, it's not painful. But if it goes all the way down to like the raw meat, that's when you have issues. So he's got the startings of a quarter crack, and to bring it together, they can lace it, they can patch it. What they mean, they wire it together. It's an injury that obviously you can deal with all the time. In my experience, I ran horses with them, they patch them, and it's a day-to-day. You've got to know the horse and manage it. She's run with it before. I'll give you the best example I can give, and I always bring him up. Cigar had a quarter crack for 16 months. Out of most of that win streak he had, he ran with a quarter crack each and every day.
Yeah, and Shared Belief was another one who had famous quarter cracks as well. Let's check in with Gabby Gaudet.
Guys, of course, there's going to be no Derby workers today, so the most important worker today will be the likely favorite for this year's Kentucky Oaks, and that is Good Cheer. She is heading out to the track right now. Louis Saez is aboard her here this morning. I just talked to Brad Cox, and he said she's going to go 5/8 today, so look for that. And, of course, guys, with the weather that has come through this morning, it was just raining a little bit from a moment ago. It kind of has made a difficult decision for some of these trainers here with their Derby and Oaks horses. Do they work today over a muddy track, or do they wait for tomorrow and potentially have to share the track with a lot of other workers? There are a lot of workers scheduled to tomorrow. So Brad Cox deciding to send Good Cheer out for this work here at 5 furlongs. Look forward to that. She looks so great.
So, Joe, if you're working a horse for a race like this as a jockey, is there anything different you have to do because of the surface when it comes up like this? Or is it just, you know, go out there and do the same and hope it doesn't have any effect on it?
Oh, for sure, Mike. And especially Derby week. I know sometimes, I think earlier in the week, it was pretty quick. So you definitely want to pay attention if the track's quick. You don't want to, you know, go 58 flat and overdo it. But on the flip side, like today when it's a little bit muddy, it's probably going to be on the slow side. I don't think we're going to see any overly super fast work, so I think it's just good to be cognizant of that and just try not to overdo it if you think it's too deep out there.
And as we're looking at Good Cheer coming out on the track, she might be the most likely winner of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to be one of the shortest price favorite in all the big races. There's no question of it. She's undefeated. She's the head of her class right now, and I mean, she just looks amazing. I mean, back to your point of the weather, I just checked in, Mike. Rain tomorrow a little bit, and then dry Saturday and Sunday. So these trainers have a lot of options to sit and wait till Saturday and Sunday and even into Monday. I mean, you could work a Derby horse on Monday and have no issues with that, with the race being Saturday.
I'm not a member of the research department, but I'm pretty sure tomorrow is Saturday.
Saturday.
Come out onto the racetrack here with Good Cheer. She is a tremendous filly, and I don't want to say they're all running for second behind her, but it does give you that feel. And, Joe, I feel like in the Oaks, we have more of these overlaid favorites than we do in the Derby for obvious reasons.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's one thing, too, Mike. Like, I was in New Orleans pretty much for all of the prep races down there, so I got to watch her, and just an incredible fill. I mean, if you try to, I don't think you can poke any holes in her whatsoever. And even her last race, I thought was one of her best in the Fairgrounds Oaks, because normally she'll get a little not too far back, but, you know, 5, 6, 7 lengths. She was up close, only a length and a half off the lead, and powered away like she's done in all of her other races. So I think that's another dynamic in some of these races, if not the Oaks later on, where, you know, some of those paceless races, she could lay closer and not give herself too much to do. But, I mean, even right here with this shot,
exactly.
she looks unbelievable.
This is a money shot right here, because I always talk about this. I mean, look, horses have got to have the athletic ability, but I think what differentiates a good horse from a great horse is the mental capacity. It's like any athletes. If you don't have, you know, what between the ears to make it, that's a difference maker. And I have never seen, Brad Cox has trained so many good horses. I interviewed him after that race. I've never seen the sense of relief over him for winning the fair. He was happy he won, but he was more relieved that he didn't lose.
Let's get back to Andy Biancone.
Mike, Brendan Walsh aboard his pony, waiting to send East Avenue out for a little gallop today, Brendan.
Yeah, a little gallop today, Andy. Yeah, just keep him in his routine, you know.
What will his game plan look like in terms of the weekend?
We're going to try and work him tomorrow, hopefully this time tomorrow. Manny Franco's actually supposed to fly in from New York to work the horse, and get a feel of him, provided we don't have way too much rain, once it's somewhat reasonable. Otherwise we'll swing it over to Sunday.
We know East Avenue loves Keeneland. How happy are you with the way he's settled into training at Churchill?
Yeah, he's really doing great. I mean, he trained a lot here last year, going up to the Breeders' Cup and that, so he's always trained well over this track. I thought he worked well enough on Saturday, and yeah, we're ready to go.
What prompted the decision to go to Manny Franco to put him aboard?
Well, he's a top rider, Unfortunately, Tyler got injured, obviously. Then Luan was already committed to ride the Juddmonte horse in the Derby as well. So we had a couple, we wanted to get a top rider, and Manny was available. So, he's ridden a bit for me in New York and that, and we've had some success together. So very happy to have him on board.
Is there anything specific that Manny needs to be aware of with East Avenue in terms of getting along with him and such?
Not really. He's very straightforward. He's a forward-going horse, but he's very easy to ride. He's not. There's nothing fancy at all that we need to do with him. I think his running style will suit the Derby, and yeah, he's easy to ride.
Brendan, thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to seeing East Avenue here in a couple minutes.
Thanks, Andy.
Back to you guys.
Joe, I want to go to the jockey switch here. We all know Tyler's a tremendous rider. I feel like Manny Franco's a little unsung for how good he is. What can you tell us about Manny, having ridden against him and knowing him?
I mean, Manny's a really good rider. He's based in New York, so I haven't ridden against him too much. A few times when I moved to Kentucky and then when I would ship back to New York. But just not only a great jockey, tremendous athlete. I mean, works out fit, very knowledgeable. And I feel like the last few years he's really just tremendously risen up the ranks, and you could see that now just getting Derby mounts like that.
I mean, he's in kind of a different situation. He was aboard Sovereignty because of the injury to Junior Alvarado. Junior comes back. Now he's aboard East Avenue because of the injury to Tyler Gaffalione. So, sometimes, it's good not to be locked up on a horse all winter. Sometimes something opens up as a jockey, right, Joe?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's kind of played out for the most part here, but I mean, in the last month or so, you could see musical chairs from 6 different guys.
Yeah.
And, one jockey might like another one, they'll jump off, or a trainer and owner might say, you know what, this guy doesn't have much experience. Let's go to a more experienced jockey, in a 20-horse field. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. And even still, they haven't drawn yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying anything could happen, but
I mean, look
it can.
Look at Umberto Rispoli. He got pulled off for Rock Your World after winning the Santa Anita
Yes.
Derby, replaced by Joe Rosario. Now he's aboard probably the favorite for the Kentucky Derby in journalism.
It comes back around sometimes. Let's go back around to Gabby Gaudet.
Mike, thank you. And here with Drexel Hill, you can see with the Oak saddle towel, Ben Curtis aboard. Ben, what are you doing today?
We're just aiming to do a nice 5/8, something comfortable, let them stretch their legs, and we're a nice distance out from the race now that, it's lucky they've opened the track, so hopefully just keep them happy and let them stretch their legs.
Are you going in company?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Flying Mohawk 5/8, so hopefully it all goes smooth.
All right, good luck. Okay, so Drexel Hill will be working in company with Flying Mohawk, and David also shows Simply Joking. She's also standing here at the gap with Florent Giroux, and Flo is going to go 4 furlongs today. He's going to be working solo, of course, for trainer Whit Beckman. So this group is going to head out to the track in just a few moments. Now, Whit Beckman was kind of back and forth. He was a little up in the air this morning and waiting to see what the track conditions would be like. He said he wasn't going to work if the track was sealed, but they did back rake the track, and obviously it's drying out. So that's kind of what made him change his mind to work these horses this morning.
And Flying Mohawk, of course, a Derby contender. He's actually one that I wonder if we don't put too much into the work, because he is a horse who is proven on turf. He is proven on synthetic, but he's never raced on dirt.
He's never raced on dirt, and that's a big ask going into the Kentucky Derby. He's by Caraconti, a dirt side, but he's got Twirling Candy on the dam side. I mean, there's no reason he shouldn't like it, but you always have to ask yourself, why haven't they tried the dirt to this point? But here he is, going to run in the biggest race of the year.
And the thing about that too, Simon and Mike, is the kickback.
Yeah.
I mean, turf is absolutely no kickback. It's just grass, maybe a little dirt, but that I think that's one of the biggest dynamics, because even if they work good on dirt for the first time, you're not going to know what's going to happen when they get
Looking at Tenma real quick there, but you can't replicate that, Mike, in the morning. You can work flying mohawk behind horses and get a little bit of dirt.
But not 18 horses of dirt.
Exactly. And where is he ever going to get, another 18, 19 horses the rest of the year to try and, race against?
Well, Good Cheer might be the best 3-year-old filly in the country, but Tenma's been the best 3-year-old filly on the West Coast. As you can see, she's stretching her legs, getting ready to work here for Bob Baffert.
Yeah, Baffert's horses shipped in. They all look good as always, and this filly's been really good out on the West Coast. I mean, the question is, how does she match up against Good Cheer? That's the big question mark. You don't know. That's why she's here. A win last out in Santa Anita Oaks was good. She's beaten everybody she's supposed to. She's only got one bad race on her resume. That was in the Oak Leaf. So, I mean, she's going to be one of the favorites for sure.
Yeah, and definitely part of the early pays for sure.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about her. I mean, she really hasn't done nothing wrong, especially this year. She's 2 for 2 in 2025. But to your point, I'm not quite sure who she's beat back there, just because it's it's pretty short fields. Obviously, the Oaks is going to be a lot more.
Well, she's beat Vodka with a Twist a lot. I don't know how Vodka with a Twist would match up against Good Cheer as well. But there is a look at Tenma making her way onto the track, and you can see the blue and yellow checks of Baffert. He's got another one in front of her. Who's that in front of her?
That's a Derby horse. Is that Citizen Bull?
It's either Citizen Bull. Hang on, I've got this great poster board with all the horse pictures on them. I could tell you in about 3 seconds. So I believe, is that Citizen Bull? No, that's not Citizen Bull. That is Rodriguez.
Yep.
That is Rodriguez, my friend. And we will take a look at him in a little bit. How about Lecara? Let's take it back to Oaks horses, because we're going to get a slew of them today. There is a look at Lecara on the racetrack, getting warmed up. Mark Casse. Boy, Mark Casse's really coming into the weekend with some live runners.
Yeah, he is, and Lecara is one of them. She hasn't missed a beat. I mean, she debuted here at Churchill last year. She didn't run that well on debut. It was a sloppy racetrack. Maybe she didn't like the wet. Maybe it was a debut. But since then, she's done well. I mean, a nice win in the Ashland, gate to wire. And like I said, she's never missed a beat. Obviously a very sound filly, because she just goes from race to race. And Mark doesn't work his horses that fast in the mornings, so don't be alarmed if you see just, average, mediocre works. That's what he does.
And not only that, Simon, back on April 22nd, she went 46 flat here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, her last, I don't think she needs to do much at all. Fitness-wise, she's ready to go, especially off that romp in the Ashland.
And there you can see her getting to go. This is a live work here of Lecara for Mark Casse, and right now we're zooming out, so we'll catch her in a little bit. At any rate, so the track is open. You can see the bustle of activity is starting. A smattering of some Derby horses, mostly Oaks horses today. The weather has played a part, but to me, that track from this point looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, look, if it was me, knowing what was coming, that there's going to be a couple of dry days, like from my experience, I'd probably wait till the track was, a little better. But look, if you were forced to work over the surface, I wouldn't worry about it.
Let's go to yesteryear. One of the best horses of last year. We'll actually catch up with her. We're going to get Torpedo Anna on the racetrack at some point today. Right now, though, we have our first Derby horse of the day getting some exercise, and that is Flying Mohawk, owned in part by the Icon Racing Stable of Jason Worth. This horse bringing him back to the Derby. He was in the Derby last year with Dornoch. He won, of course, the Belmont Stakes with that tremendous animal. And Whit Beckman's got Flying Mohawk off of that performance, after a pair of performances that qualified him here. A synthetic horse, a turf horse. Can he be a dirt horse?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question for him is what's happened to him in the starting gate the last couple of starts. He's been slow, very slow out of the gate after showing pretty decent speed at the end of his 2-year-old year in turf races. He broke slow and he's finished up. So, if he continues that trend, Joe, I mean, trip and post is going to be key for him.
Yeah, if he bobbles like he has in his last two, he might give himself a ton to do. The one thing, too, if you look at him number-wise, he's definitely going to have to step up and run the biggest race he's ever run to win this race, no doubt about it. But, again, the biggest question mark for me is going to be the kickback. Again, it's hard to replicate a 19-horse field in the morning, even if you work him behind horses to try and get that kickback. I mean, you truly cannot get what he's going to get in the Derby.
From the biggest question mark in the Derby to the shortest price favorite in the Oaks, Good Cheer is in gear. Let's take a look at her work as she makes her final preparation for for the Kentucky Oaks.
Okay, so we're watching this live. She's going to go, I believe, 5/8 is what we heard, right?
Yes.
It looks like in company. That's her on the outside, and Louis Saez aboard.
You can see they're just getting prepared for her to cut loose, and I believe that other horse acting as a target for her?
Yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, when you're working a good horse in company, they're always going to sit behind a lead horse, right, Joe?
Yeah, and this is perfect.
Yeah.
I love where Louis is. He's basically trying to replicate what the race would be like. Just sit off a length, half a length, just like he is, and then hopefully finish up together and maybe let her gallop out a little bit in front.
Look, I mean, look how easy she's going here. This is a situation that Louis Saez, he's not going to touch the gas pedal today. He's just going to let his foot off the brake, right? That's all he has to do. She's there underneath him waiting to go. And, I mean, if he moved an inch, she'd just open up 3 or 4 lengths in a heartbeat.
Yeah, she looks like she's totally within herself at this point. And like you said, Joe, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to do too little. Just right in the middle. Louis Saez is one of the best riders in the country. He knows what to do. He knows his job well.
No, this is absolutely poetry in motion. This is exact. I mean, look at her. She is doing exactly what she needs to do. Not too much, but just enough. And see, this is perfect right here. How she's just opening up a little bit, but not by 5 or 10. You know what I mean? So Louis just cueing her to just know to beat the other horse, but again, not too much. But I love this. She looks absolutely incredible.
And look, she's just galloping out on her own now. He's not asking her. She's just doing it. This is absolutely perfect. You want to kind of keep them what we call held together, on a tight rein, so they can't misstep or anything like that. And all the heavy work's done. That's exactly right.
You could look at her ears too, kind of flipping back up. You could tell she that was hardly anything for her.
So now we're going to see Drexel Hill and Flying Mohawk working in company together. How uncommon is this for horses like this to work with each other?
Yeah, I mean, horses of this caliber, you don't see it very often. I don't think I've ever seen a Derby and an Oaks horse work together. We saw Tistastic and Publisher for the Asmussen Bomb work together last week.
Well, they work together all the time.
Yeah.
They're practically besties.
Yeah, too. But to see an Oaks and a Derby horse work together is kind of unique.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah.
So you can see they're getting ready to turn right now. They're going by the where the mile chute joins the backstretch. When are they going to? At what point do they turn them loose here? Where do they actually officially start the work?
Well, it depends. If they're going from a true 5/8, they'll drop down on the route about a 16th before and then get a running start into the 5/8 pole. Some people work from the half-mile pole past the wire. Baffert does that a lot. But here we got the Flying Mohawk on the inside, and you can see the exercise riders got their walkie-talkies in the back pocket, so there's communication between Whip Beckman. Baffert used to do that a lot. I know you worked a lot of horses for Bob Baffert. Used the walkie-talkie a lot, right, Joe?
Oh, yeah, would scream, slow down. No, I'm kidding.
Well, take me through the body language of the jockeys here. They're very different. Look at Flying Mohawk, the exercise rider on him. He looks like he's in full restraint mode.
Yeah, the one on the inside, he's just really trying not to go too fast. You could see pulling a little bit. And Ben Curtis on the opposite side, you can see he's moving his hands a little bit to try and get forward to him. But they definitely, again, we're at that time where you definitely don't want to do too much, which I think they're trying to do here. But again, this is probably ideal. They just want to finish together and really not do too much, but do just enough.
Yeah, if Flying Mohawk had a mohawk, he'd be poking the exercise rider's eyes out right now. It looks like they're almost headbutting each other. But this looks like a fairly slow and easy drill, Simon.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I guarantee the instructions are not for anyone to beat anyone here. Just finish heads up together. But the thing I'll take away from this work, obviously the filly's going pretty good, is that, you look at Flying Mohawk's past performances, turf, synthetic, doesn't show a whole lot of speed. Seems to be getting over the dirt perfectly well there. But I would preface this, a lot of turf horses do work well on the dirt. It's a whole different ball game when you get them off the bridle going at race pace, and then you ask them to quicken. That's when the million-dollar question comes along, right, Joe?
That's so true. And even to your point, a lot of turf horses love to slop, too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This track this morning has a lot of moisture in it. So to your point, he probably likes that as well.
Well, there's a look at Flying Mohawk, Drexel Hill, one Oaks horse, one Derby horse working together. I don't believe we've ever caught that on this show, be it breakfast at the Derby, breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, or the Works. It's quite unusual, but Wick Beckman, in a short amount of time, has made a fantastic name for himself training at a very high level. So deferring to his expertise, probably wise.
Yeah, good horseman, and his horses are well turned out there. You can see got 4 bandages on them just to protect them. Horses, they can, when the track's a little wet, it's called what's run down. They can burn their heels a little bit, so you don't want anything like that happening a week out, because that could, force a scratch. So both horses moving exceptionally well and switching leads on cue.
Want to see a grizzly bear?
Sure.
I didn't know they were resident of Kentucky, but there's at least one that is, and that is Torpedo Anna. As we take a look at her on the track, she's getting ready to stretch her legs as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is just, we saw her Oaklawn gallop there last time I was there. I mean, she's just poetry in motion and just unbelievable resume that she's put together for Kenny McPeak.
So we got a view at some horses working over this track. Can we judge the rate without seeing the times just yet? Can we judge anything by the track, by those works yet? Any impressions made? I
don't think so. I mean, most of these works, Joe, are going to be in hand, finished together, don't come off the bridle. That would probably be the instructions.
I mean, we're trackside right here. I don't really think it visually looks that bad. No. And one thing about it too, Churchill Downs is a sand-based track. It drains really, really well. There's days where the first race we rode was sloppy.
Yep.
By the time the sixth race came, it was completely fast. So even I think it could even change by the breaks too. By like the 9 o'clock break, it could definitely be quick because it drains so well.
We've seen that in the Kentucky Derby. Sloppy racetrack race one, and then they have an hour and a half between races, sun. They keep working it, and it's fast for the Derby.
So American Promise, another promise from one of the greatest horsemen of all time, Wayne Lucas. You were there when this horse won the Virginia Derby, the first time ever we had a Kentucky Derby prep go through Colonial Downs. And Wayne Lucas, look, he has a very distinct style of training. He runs them. He runs them a lot. He runs them into shape. And this is a horse who's coming in as fit as anyone.
Yeah, but all of that is correct, but I was kind of amazed that he didn't run again after the Virginia Derby. It's 7 weeks between races. Joe, we were there. You were there, right? With Matt, but we were talking about after the race. Will he go to the Bluegrass? And then we're talking about maybe he'll go to the Lexington. Seems like a Wayne thing to do, but he elected to bypass all those races, and he comes in with 7 weeks rest. I don't think I've ever seen that from Wayne before.
Let's take a look at Coal Battle, one of the best stories of the Derby Trail this year. Of course, Lonnie Briley in his early 70s, an unsung horseman from Louisiana with the Derby dream of a lifetime as Coal Battle. Certainly a talented runner and a horse who really made a lot of noise in Arkansas this past winter. Here's a look at him on the track, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, this is the story of the Kentucky Derby, should he win here. I mean, what a tremendous story this would be for Lonnie Briley. He's only got, 10, 12 horses in his barn. And I mean, he admitted after the Arkansas Derby, Joe, he had this horse too fresh. If you look at his race, he was much closer to a very fast pace. He said he didn't train him hard enough. He didn't take the edge off him going in the Arkansas Derby. And he said that's going to change between Arkansas and Kentucky.
This horse, he kind of reminds me of Mind That Bird. For most of his races, he just kind of lays back, comes flying, and I would ride him just like that in the Derby. Don't worry about pace, just let him hopefully break sharp, find his stride, and then just let him come around. But I love how he's bowing his neck like this too. When a horse does that, that's always good. You can see the exercise rider just hands right on the weather stair behind, and he's going along not too fast, but I think that's probably by design.
So Sovereignty is going to be a focal point for your analysis here, Simon, because I know this was a horse you really wanted to take a look at the comparison of work to work and gallop to gallop.
Yeah, knowing the training, and how he trains and builds, this is a horse that's just developing, throughout his 3-year-old year so far. And he's really been on the muscle here since he's got to Churchill Downs. And horses will do that. When they come from South Florida, if the temperature's a little cooler, it's not today, although I would differ with you, Mike. You look like you're
freezing.
A little cold over there with that jacket on.
I've been in California too long.
You need a scarf, Mike.
But once these horses come from South Florida, they come to Churchill. Sometimes it's a little cooler, and then also a change of environment. Even though they've been here before, the first 3 or 4 days when they go to a new track, they're kind of geeked up. But this is a horse where I think he's really turned it on since he's got to Churchill. His works have changed. His demeanor's changed. I mean, he's just doing so good right now.
Well, he's reportedly not a very enthusiastic workhorse until now.
Wasn't, yeah, exactly, and that's a good sign. And I as a trainer, you always see that. Sometimes you see it with, maiden horses that a little lackluster in their workouts. Then they have their first race, and they come out of that first race, and the light goes on, and they really figure it out. I think he's one of those types of horses.
And there's a look at Sovereignty as he's certainly one of the main contenders. Even his runner-up finish in the Florida Derby last time out, no one's really holding that against him.
No, including Bill. He's like, you don't want to run your best race, and that might be the best thing, that he didn't run his best race that day. He's still got more to improve on.
Tistastic ran his best race in the Louisiana Derby. Tistastic and Publisher, workmates, they're very similar horses. The only difference is Tistastic's actually crossed the wire first before. But Steve Asmussen, you said that you've learned a lot watching Steve Asmussen over the year, and this is a very typical training job by Steve.
Yeah, I loved him in the Louisiana Derby, and Steve's horses, to me, watching his 3-year-olds, they all kind of have this style, Joe. They don't possess a lot of speed. He teaches them to relax and finish, and as the races get longer, they usually get a little better. That's why, you know, with Creator in the Belmont, and Tistastic, I think, is another example of that. He came out of the Street Sense here, which is arguably the best 2-year-old race in the country last year. Sovereignty won it, Tistastic was second, and Sandman was third. I mean, look what all those horses did out of that race.
And one thing about that, too, Simon, the distance in the Louisiana Derby was 1 mile and 3/16. That was the furthest prep race. And he won it by 2 1/4 lengths. So 1 1/4 miles, I would have to think, is only going to be better for him, because even in that race, he wasn't getting tired whatsoever. He actually galloped out really well in the Louisiana Derby. So if anything, the distance is absolutely perfect for him.
I mean, trip's going to be the key for him, is so often with these types of horses. And look, every trainer wants to win the Derby, but there's no guy in this race that wants to win it more than Steve Asmussen. He's won every race. He's won more races than anybody. He's 0 for 26 in the Derby. He has the longest losing streak of any active trainer in the Derby. A lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, and that's the one feather he needs to get in his cap.
Arguably the greatest trainer of all time by multiple measures, but certainly by races won, by accomplishment, by earnings. He has every mark. It's just this one race. He thought he had his best chance with Epicenter. Wouldn't it be something if he won it with Tistastic? And wouldn't it be something more if he won it with a maiden?
Right. Publisher.
That would be crazy.
And he's right there on form. I know he hasn't won a race, but he's right there on form with some of these others. I mean, Steve's horses, we've watched him so many times over the years at the Breeders' Cup and the Kentucky Derby. They all train the same, you know, slow works, 101, 102, that kind of style, sit and finish. And this horse is, you know, typifies that with his running style. I think he's peaking at the right time, and he's a good-looking horse. You can see why he wants to run long.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
Well, that's Publisher is very similar, very striking animal.
Yeah.
Everyone who, I can't tell you how many horses, even our executive producer, Becky Witzman, the first thing she said to me when I walked in yesterday was like, "Ooh, Publisher looked great."
Yep.
And she's a horsewoman by trade as well. She worked for, you know, Richard Mandela. She knows a thing or two about the way these look. But we have a lot of people. When we were at Oaklawn, people, "Oh, Publisher, he looks great." Ooh,
Well,
Publisher.
he worked with Tistastic last week.
Yeah, they're workmates.
Yeah, and Publisher, I mean, if you watch the work, and to the untrained eye, you say Publisher blew his doors off of Tistastic. He was going much, much faster, but I just don't know. I don't know whether that form's going to hold up in the Derby, just because this is a horse, I think, you know, working in 5/8 against Publisher, I don't think shows his true talent. I think as the races get longer, this horse gets better.
Yeah, he'll be a mid-price. I don't know if he's going to get enough respect for his performance in the Louisiana Derby. And, you know, Joe brings up that's 1 mile and 3/16. A lot of these horses have to get an extra furlong. He's only got to get an extra half a furlong.
Yeah, and I think Steve's done that the last few years. I feel like has based his better wins there in New Orleans. I think for that, which I think is great. And again, you get such a better line on horses, because it's a big difference, 1 mile and 1/16 to 1 1/4 miles versus 1 mile and 3/16 to 1 1/4 miles. So you definitely get a good baseline on those horses to see how they handle it.
So let's take a look at his buddy, his barnmate, Publisher. I don't know, have we ever seen this before? A maiden win the Kentucky Derby. His Publisher, he's never won, but he has brought to the table tremendous performances and flashes of brilliance. He's just never sealed the deal.
Maidens are 0 for 12 since 1937 in the Derby. It's never, you know, since we've been keeping track and records. So it's going to be tough to overcome. He's not going to get a lot of attention just for that stat, but, you know, stats are made to be broken. I mean, maybe he does it. Who knows?
There's a look at him on the racetrack. How would you compare him to his stablemate there, Simon?
You know, like you said, on works, he's way better. If you just visually watch his work, on form, I mean, he was second in the Arkansas Derby behind Sandman. He beat Cole Battle, and he had a rough trip that day. He had a rough trip. It kind of cost him a couple of lengths, and as you said, he's a good-looking individual. So again, with these runners, both the one we've just seen, Joe, and this horse, they come from so far back. Trip is their ultimate key. They could be the best horse on Saturday and end up fourth with a bad trip.
And that's the one thing about the Derby. I feel like you could run it 10 times and have 10 different outcomes just based on trips and post position too. I mean, if any of these late running horses draw too far inside and get squeezed back, I mean, that's it. That's their trip, you know. So it's just so imperative to get a good post position one, and then two, the break is totally key, because I mean, you can win or lose just from the start.
Well, there's a look at Publisher, and just a little leg stretcher this morning for trainer Steve Asmussen, but certainly the talent is there and the development is there, but he's got an uphill battle going into this run for the Roses.
Yeah, I'd say the blinkers helped him out a little bit last time. That was the first time he had him on. Did it change his running style? No, but I think, you know, he might be a little closer with the blinkers on in the Derby, because he just got bumped and squeezed, taken back. So, you know, again, he's got to break fast.
Right now, the moment we've been waiting for from Lexington, Kentucky, as we go to Keeneland, is Grande coming onto the track for Todd Pletcher. Somewhat un-Pletcher-esque that this is this horse's only work following his performance, his final prep. You can see he's on the outside there, getting ready to roll here.
Yeah, and again, you know, if you're familiar with Todd Pletcher working horses, he doesn't, again, he's not one to go down there in 59 and change. He usually works them in company, you know, anywhere from like a minute to 101. So you're going to see a horse who comes in, been working at Palm Meadows, just half-mile works going into his races, and much the same here, Joe. He's just well within himself.
Oh, he's full of run, too. You could see he's got a pretty good hold of Johnny. He's just trying to just sit there and try not to do too much.
Lightly raced. He'll be making, making his fourth start in the Kentucky Derby, should he go into the starting gate on next Saturday. And, not many horses have done that with such a lightly raced record. So.
Yeah. And one thing about it, he has improved every single start, which is good. I mean, he went from an 83 buyer, 87, 97 buyer in defeat last time, and you could see him right here. He has a huge stride on him too. Really, really fluent horse.
I mean, except for journalism, I think it's fair to say Grande has flashed as much talent as anybody in this 3-year-old crop. I mean, he's got the talent. He's got some ability. It was a very nice second-place finish in the Wood Memorial, and that was his first foray into stakes company.
Yeah, and the fact, look, the Apollo curse, we talked about that for so many years. No horse had ever run since Apollo to not run it to him, win the Kentucky Derby. Since the point system changed, we've seen it happen twice in a period of 5 years, Mage and Justify. So it can be done. Wouldn't worry about that anymore. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, he was just beaten fair and square by Rodriguez. That would be my issue with him. I mean, Rodriguez just outran him, right?
I totally agree. I mean, I thought he had dead aim on him, turning for him. Rodriguez just had too much in the tank.
So let's go to Scott Hazelton right now as he's standing by with Todd Pletcher.
Well, Todd, his first work since the Wood as he gets ready for the Kentucky Derby Grande. What made you just come in with this one workout for this horse?
Just timing-wise, we felt like with the shipping and everything that we just wanted one good work. The question was whether to go kind of 2 halves in between or 1 5/8, and just felt like the timing with the way everything worked out in shipping here and then shipping to Churchill later today, that we wanted to get the work in here. I think we got lucky watching the weather. We were kind of debating on whether to go to Churchill or stay here, and just had a little more confidence in the track if we did get rain, and we got lucky and got in just before it. So very happy with the way it's all worked out so far.
So far, how far did you ask him to work? What was the plan here today with this workout?
I had him in a minute and change, and then out in 1:13, up in 1:27, pulled up the mile in 1:42. So it was pretty solid work.
Who was he working in company with?
He was with a colt named Valentinian, who was third in the than here earlier in the meet at Keeneland before he broke his maiden at Tampa first time out.
There have been a lot of years where you come in with handfuls of horses into the Kentucky Derby. How different is it coming in with this one horse, this one opportunity for Derby 151?
Hey, we're thankful we got one. I mean, a couple months ago we weren't sure we'd be here at all, but he stepped up. I thought he ran a big race in the Wood, had kind of a tough trip around the first turn and gave up a lot of ground, kept fighting to the wire. He's a relatively inexperienced horse. It's on the improve, so we're cautiously optimistic.
What's the best weapon that he possesses for what he's about to encounter next week?
I think he'll stay the 1.25 miles. He'll see out the distance, and that's a huge part of it. Now we just need to hope that he likes a Churchill surface.
Thank you so much. Good luck. We'll see you over in Louisville.
Okay, thank you.
I like Todd's interviews. I think he's very straightforward with what he said, and I think that's a great opinion. He thinks the horse is going to stay that mile and a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it should do on pedigrees by Curlin out of a war front mare, and nobody has started more horses in the Kentucky Derby than Todd Pletcher. 65 starters he's had in his career. He's won it twice, obviously, with Super Saver and Always Dreaming, but always looking to get that next one.
Yeah, and I think that's the rush. Whether you've won it or not, you just keep wanting more, especially once you've won it. I think you just keep wanting to come back and come back. But again, that just goes to show how hard this game is. I mean, Todd Pletcher, one of the best ever, and has won. You know what I mean? Just won this year.
Yeah,
lucky to get in.
Yeah, you want to keep coming back. Here's a guy who keeps coming back. Wayne Lucas. He's won the Derby. He won the Preakness, he's won the Belmont, and he's won more Triple Crown races than anyone else. 4-time Derby winner. His most recent, though, was 26 years ago. He's got some hope. Is one of his many protege that hit the training ranks of himself. Of course, Todd Pletcher, the Hall of Famer, with this Hall of Famer. And in recent years, the friendship and the admiration, the mutual admiration that struck up between one-time rivals, Bob Baffert and Wayne Lucas. There's a look at Bob here at Churchill Downs, back. And he's got 2 runners in here. He had 3 at one point, but of course, Mattocket Road, they decided to take to the Pate Mile.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, it's been a few years since he's been back here, but he's happy to be back. Unique shot there of him on the backside. Ian Wilkes was just in front of him there. Churchill Downs executive Mike Ziegler talking to him on the left of the screen there.
It's funny, though, because it's when Baffert comes into the Derby with the unheralded horses when you got to be most aware, right? War Emblem, right? Coming out at a huge price. Remember that exacta in the Derby back in 2002. War Emblem, it was the only Bob Baffert horse over the only D. Wayne Lucas horse in the race, and the exacta paid like $1,700. Let's go to Andy Biancone.
Mike, standing out in the rain here with Mark Cassey, who's being so patient right now. But, Mark, we saw both of your horses work a few days ago, Lacara and Sandman. Will they work as we get closer to the race? Or
you saw all you're going to see. You know, I've kind of changed in the last few years, and Sandman's been almost like on a 10-day schedule, and Lacara, she didn't run that. I didn't want her doing that much, and I'm glad we worked 10 days out because she went a little faster. She is on her game right now. She is focused and fired up.
What helps you make that decision to let horses work 10 days out as opposed to 7?
Wisdom and age. I don't put a lot into it. I just think I want them to relax a little bit and chill. And we also know that every time you work, the media, everybody gets crazy. So we'll let the media take care of the rest of everybody. But no, they were here, they were happy, and I just went for it. I do it by feel more than anything.
Lacara put in quite an aggressive drill. Is that character for her?
She's a pretty good workhorse. It was a little, I wanted to go in 48, but if you've ever been, as you know, you front side, you can't see very well. So I caught her the first 8th, and she went like 11-4. So she looked good to me. So I said to the rider, "Okay, you look good. Just sit chilly." And she just 46. So, but the good news is she didn't take a deep breath. And if you watched her train this morning, she's got a lot of energy. So all systems go. The big horse, Sandman. I wanted, he kind of goes, and he didn't know the first part that he was working. And at about the quarter pole, I said to the rider, "Okay, smooch to him." And he did. And then he was like, "Oh, okay." And he took off, and he worked well, and then he galloped out strong. So both horses, right now, it's just keeping them happy.
So easy gallops for both of them until the race days.
Exactly. Sandman did a jog today. We're all big joggers, too. We jog a lot. He went to the paddock. He's a pro, though, and Lacara galloped 1.25 miles. She jogged yesterday. So, yeah, you're nothing exciting.
Do you prefer to school horses in the paddock with a rider versus taking them over to the races with a groom?
Both. Do both, yeah. We'll do both, but it's, again, it's a feel thing. You got to, each horse is different, and so that's how we kind of, every horse is different.
Well, Mark, I can't commend you and the team enough because each of these horses have looked better and better every time I've seen them. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate that. That was kind of the plan. As we know, plans seldom work, but I'm very happy with where they are right now.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
I just commend him for standing in the rain for the interview.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, that's some great insight there. That it's one size doesn't fit all, and Mark Cassie's a true example of that. The way he does things. I mean, it's sometimes you can get. I mean, experience comes into play there, but as a young trainer, you can get forced into doing things here that you probably wouldn't normally do. Work a little faster. Yeah. I ran one horse in the Kentucky Derby, and I was just overwhelmed when I came here. It was a long time ago, and didn't have the media coverage that it has now, but. Yeah, I mean, you don't see that very often. A trainer working 10 days out, very slow works, but he sticks to his guns. He treats each horse as an individual.
I thought that was funny because he said it's a feel thing. I've always thought of Mark Cassie as a very cerebral guy, like a very cerebral trainer. He's smart. He's very well spoken. I think everything he does is extremely deliberate. It was kind of surprising. He was like, it's a feel thing. I'm kind of just going off feel. But maybe that's the benefit of years and wisdom, like he said.
Yeah, I mean, like some trainers have a plan. They know like 2 or 3 weeks they have everything mapped out. But some days, like I'm sure he comes into the barn in the morning planning her work. And you know what? Not today. She didn't quite eat the right way. Didn't move. Didn't do this. So, yeah, day to day is what it is. That's why you got to be there every day.
And Joe, the rain has started to come down. I can loan you my jacket if you want.
You know, Mike, I actually think I am going to put mine on, but I was making fun of you so long. I'm trying to hold out as long as I can.
Yeah, well, you got some goosebumps there. I can see him from this side of the set.
If we get a monsoon here, neither of us is going to put the jackets on. I'm telling you.
Let's get out to Keeneland, quiet side on the track right now. Let's take a look as quiet side jumps aboard for John Ortiz. You talk about a young trainer. He always seems to handle the moment, though.
Yeah, I mean, John Ortiz. I'll give you a little bit of insight with John Ortiz. When I worked a long time ago for Bill Mott back in 1994, there was an exercise rider called Carlos Ortiz for Bill. He was there for a long time. That's John Ortiz's dad. John Ortiz, when I first knew him, was like this big coming to the barn. And now here he is with a Kentucky Oaks runner.
We'll get you back to quiet side in a moment. Right now, though, we've got the all-important bath shot of Sandman. Andy, how does the gray look?
Mike, you can't miss Sandman wherever you go. And talk about a fun horse to watch develop over the winter. This horse has star quality, to say the very least. He knows he's the main character. He knows he's the star. He commands the attention. True good race horses, they know the cameras, they know the job, and Sandman is just the perfect representation of that. He's looking at birds right now as he's getting a bath, but it's been really fun to watch him develop. I remember speaking to one of Mark's assistants, Caden Arthur, back at Oaklawn Park, and at one point after the fall last year, the Connections wanted to kind of give Sandman a break, and Mark Cassie said, absolutely not. This horse needs to keep running, keep learning, because he was a little bit of a slow learner. But as you can see, at this point of the year, he's just really got things figured out. He's been getting copped on more and more with every single race, really learning what his purpose is and enjoying his job. But just such a fun horse to watch. I'm truly in love with him. Loves every bit of Derby Week and is soaking up all the attention.
I'm with Brian Hernandez Jr. at Ian's barn. So not the barn of Kenny McPeak, where you just got off Torpedo Anna. Let's start with her. Tell me about what you felt.
She was her normal self. You know, I think she's kind of knows her job now, because, you know, here with Derby training going on, they have all the people on the front side watching, and as she jogged past them, you can feel her. She kind of swole up and was kind of proud of herself with her ears forward. And when we turned her around to go ahead and break off, she was a little aggressive getting to the pole, but then once we got into the work and she got in her nice routine, she knows her job, and she settled in and just kind of cruised around there for a nice half we wanted a really long gallop out today, just because it's going to be our only work between the two races from Arkansas to here. So she seems happy and proud of herself.
You say she knows her job more, but in comparison to last year, do you feel any differences in her?
She just seems like now she's got a little swagger to her, where she knows what she's accomplished, and she seems to be a better filly this year than last year, and you know, we're just proud to be a part of her. And like we keep telling everyone, we just got to let her go out there and do her thing.
Brian, your family was there watching. I was standing right behind him on the rail, recording the workout, and kind of describe what the experience is like for you 1 year from that moment when you clinched the Oaks and the Derby to now, and what that's been like for all of you.
It's just been a lot of fun, you know, especially now with the fanfare that's following Torpedo Anna. You know, everyone, when we went out there like this morning, everyone knew who she was. She had her saddle towel on, of course. but everyone knew who she was, and they were just cheering her on. So it's been fun, and, you know, it's really exciting for the kids because they, like you said, they get to come out here in the mornings and watch her train, and just to follow the following she has. It's been special.
One last question. We're standing here watching Burnham Square, your Derby mount, and a horse who's really impressed, not just in his last start in the Bluegrass, but also in training here. He looks better and better. Tomorrow, scheduled workout, probably depending on weather, but what will you be looking for?
Yeah, you know, we'll talk with Ian about it again later today and tomorrow morning, and he'll kind of just describe what he believes the horse needs, you know. But the good thing about Burnham Square is that when I got off of Torpedo Anna this morning, first thing Kenny walks over, he goes, "Man, your Derby horse looks good out there." He goes, "You got a big chance of winning another one." So, you know, he was kind of the talk of the morning this morning. So we're excited about him.
You've already made some history, and you could add to it. We wish you the best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, Caden.
Brian Hernandez Jr. again loaded heading into the big weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait to get the conversation rolling about Burnham Square as well. He's
yeah,
a super talented horse.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of turned it around after a subpar performance in the Fountain of Youth. I think there was certain things that Ian Wilkes did that, I mean, paid dividends there. Missing the Florida Derby, I think, was key, giving him a little extra time. He was getting a little worked up before the Fountain of Youth. He had a lot of races back to back to back, and I think that break and coming to Kentucky helped him out.
We're going to take a break. When we return, we'll get into some of the works that already happened. We're talking about the second to last work for some of the major Derby contenders and more action here from Churchill Downs.
And I would have said that I would have favored Turf at that point. But, always keep an open mind with these horses. And after she ran a couple times on it, particularly her last race at Keeneland, where she disappointed us, I brought her home and tinkered with her a little bit over at Belmont, and she really picked it up on the dirt, so we decided to make the move.
What's her plan? Breeze tomorrow?
Yeah, I see some horses breezing today, and it's. I think there's no right or wrong here if you think your horse can handle it. And I just a lot of rain last night, and I'm under no real pressure. I have a good window. It gives her an extra day to get over her ship from Belmont anyway, and it looks like it's going to clear up midday tomorrow. So I'll probably shoot for something, maybe the second break at 9.
Appreciate the time. We'll look forward to that tomorrow.
Anytime, thanks.
Chad Brown with Ballerina Doro, and of course tracking the progress of his big horse, Derby alum Sierra Leone, who is also moving toward an important next start.
Yes, Chad Brown. He does such a great job with getting horses in peak form at the right time. I don't know if there's anybody in the game better than Chad at that. And Ballerina Doro, I know she's up against it with good cheer, but she is certainly on the ascension.
Yeah, I mean, she's heading in the right direction. Like you said, Chad, you can never rule him out. I mean, he's live wherever he runs him. He doesn't run just to run. So
no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's a deliberate and patient horseman. The patience really pays off, too, Joe. It's nice when you have that many horses, but he is – I always said, how does Chad Brown win grade 2s and grade 3s? Well, he wins them with his grade 1 horses.
No, that's so true. And you know what, to your point, I think what's so good when you get to that level, and Simon can attest to this, all of those horses are working with other grade 2, grade 3 horses. So, I mean, it's really good, I think it's easier to identify, this horse is going to fit in this spot because you just worked with Sierra Leone or you know what I'm saying, with different horses like that, and it really helps be able to place him.
He's 1,000% right with that. That's
what Baffert does as well.
Practice is harder than the game day in the Bob Baffert Park.
No,
for
sure.
And he knows exactly. You run a couple of 2-year-olds, you know exactly how you can measure them all up. So that's good. And the fact we heard about Sierra Leone, he's coming to the Stephen Foster here. Big disappointment down at Louisiana. He's looking to regain and get back on track. Last year's Breeders' Cup Classic winner. Going to stay in New York, come off to the Derby.
Dude, your new best friend, Jake Delhomme, wasn't disappointed at all.
No, exactly.
No, he was loving every minute of it. Let's take a look at Tistastic and Publisher. We were talking about the fact that they work together. Both of these horses, they're similar in running style. They're similar in how they train, and they're coming into the Derby with everything's very, very similar between the two, except for the win record.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're similar running style. This was back on April 19th, Joe. Publisher on the inside, Tistastic on the outside, and obviously one's going better than the other. Does it mean, that Publisher is going to beat Tistastic by multiple lengths in the Derby? I don't know, but Publisher looked very good here.
He really does. You could see, I love when a horse has their ears up. That just means they're doing it so much easier. You could see the rider looking back, just kind of waiting. But I mean, that is absolutely what you want to see. And to me, visually, it does not look like they went 59-3. I mean, that looks kind of like a minute and change, maybe even 101 flat. But again, just striding out, both of them now, just striding out. Perfect, just in sync with each other.
Yeah, I mean, Tistastic is working like he runs, right? Sits back and finishes up late. As the work gets a little longer, he's getting a little stronger. But to Joe's point, you don't see many Asmussen horses working 58, 59 and change. And the fact they go down there, I always say sometimes take your eye off the clock and just watch them visually and then go back and look at the start watch. And Publisher looked great there. He didn't look like he was working 59.
Are you a big ears guy, Simon?
I think, yeah, I am, especially when they put their ears up. I mean, it's telling. I know we talk about it and we hear it a lot, but I think there's something to be said for that for sure.
So a little behind the scenes here, a great producer and a great friend of mine, Tim Terrell. His brother Toby Terrell is a well-known clocker in Southern California. That whole family, big in racing. I actually was making fun of him about ears once. And he got all mad at me, and then the horse I was making fun of him about went out and aired by like 5 lengths, so that kind of put me in my place. I went off ears after Empire Maker, because everyone made a big deal about his ears in the Wood Memorial. Did you see his ears there? And then Funny Side beats him in the Derby.
That's why Easter's my favorite. All about the
Look here, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simon, I'm sorry. I had to jump ship. I was getting a little too
Do you want that scarf back?
Guys.
I'll take some gloves.
All right. We're going to try and get Joe Talamo warmed up. In his defense, he has no body fat. I could loan him some of that.
Like 2%.
Oh, that's why we call him
like
Mr.
skim milk.
Yeah. At any rate, let's keep going with. Let's talk about the horses that don't have any body fat either. I think we're going to Sovereignty next. Is that correct? I believe we're going to take a look at his. We're going to try to get we're going to try to get a couple of sound bites from the backstretch as well. Excellent work from Kate and Bradar there, getting you the interviews with Brian Hernandez Jr. and Chad Brown. I think both very telling. And the trainers this morning have given us some very good information. Todd Pletcher very forthright about Grande, because that is an unusual decision for just the one work between the Wood and the Derby for Todd. He's very regimented with the way he works his horses. He keeps them on a plan.
But you could see the thought process that went into it. Do we split the workups into 2 halves or 1 5/8? Keeneland, Churchill. I mean, there's a lot on these guys' plate.
Hey, those kids need a jacket. I need a jacket too. Let's go to Andy.
Mike, we've got another good sport enduring the rain. Michael McCarthy, journalism was very nice moving over the track today. I know we're waiting on a work for him. Will that depend on the weather?
Yeah, we'll see. It's obviously supposed to get quite a bit of moisture here today, so we'll see what the racetrack's like tomorrow morning.
If the track is bad, what will be the work plan from there?
I'll just go ahead and wait a day. Umberto's supposed to come to town to work him, so we'll see how things go tomorrow morning.
What have been your impressions of journalism so far as he's arrived at Churchill?
Been very pleased. Handling the track nicely here. All the things going on. A lot more people here today than we've seen earlier in the week. So it's only going to get busier and louder and stuff. So he's handling it all in stride.
This is the first time that I've personally seen journalism in person. Oh my gosh, what an impressive horse. You've trained some very serious individuals throughout your career, Michael. How does he stack up?
Yeah, he's right up there with the best of them. Physically, you see here, he is imposing. Got a wonderful disposition, gets over the ground, big, huge stride on him. A lot to like about him.
When you do work him, what will be something that you look for in the work? Will you want something a little bit easier, a little more speed in the beginning, a good gallop out?
Just looking for a good look around here. Him and Umberto get familiar with their surroundings, and more or less for Umberto to get a nice feel of him, 6 days out or something like that.
Michael, he could not look any better. Well done to you and the team.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Back to you guys.
Now, everybody.
Happy birthday, Andy. I forgot all about that.
I didn't know it was her birthday.
No, Michael McCarthy. He's on top of everything.
Hey, can I do my Michael McCarthy impression for you?
Sure.
That's his look. Walks around the track. He's a very serious man. I love Michael. I don't think there's a trainer in the sport that has more respect than Michael McCarthy right now. He is one of the, I don't want to say up and comers because he's been around for a while, but he's one of the bright stars in the game.
Well, I mean, if he was on the stock exchange, his stock price would look like that, just a vertical
straight line
climb,
up.
Straight line up. What he's done in a short period of time is remarkable.
It's time for us to check in with one of my favorite people on the crew, and that is our very own Maria Montgomery.
This morning, it may be very early, but it seems like a lot of people are really into the horse racing here, or I should say the workouts here for the horses. So what brings you all into town?
We're here for an industry event for careers in coal. We have a biannual meeting, and this is our first time convening in Louisville.
And so where are you all from?
I live in West Virginia, Fairmont, West Virginia.
Okay, so this may not be the Derby just yet, but what do you think so far of Churchill Downs?
Oh, it's beautiful. To get to come out and see these horses work out, it's just amazing. It's nothing like it in the world.
Do you plan to stay for the Derby?
Unfortunately not, but I will be watching it on TV.
Okay, sometimes that's okay, especially if you watch it, with us. Okay, so tell me, what do you love most about horse racing? You said you're from Louisville, so this is not your first time, right?
Right. So I got to say the tradition with it. I mean, this has been running for so long, and so many people have been a part of it. There's nothing like it in the world.
I completely agree. Well, thank you so much for your time, and y'all have fun today. All right, back to you.
Yeah, the Dawn at the Derby has been a great addition to the program. They let people come in, see these horses working each and every day, and it really brings the fans closer to the behind-the-scenes action.
Yeah, people love behind-the-scenes stuff. I mean, and to get access like this, I mean, if you're in another sport, to get a front row seat like this, you'd have to pay thousands of dollars. So, I mean, I think it's great. The more, the better.
Well, it's the moment that we were waiting for a moment ago. Quiet Side on the track at Keeneland as we head back to Lexington. Here's a look at Quiet Side, getting ready to roll. John Ortiz. Now, John Ortiz, he used to get aboard all his horses that he trains in the morning. He's got Quiet Side here who, look, this horse has been another one on the ascension, running very well. And Quiet Side right there, this filly you can see is just starting to stretch her legs.
I mean, looking at her workouts, I've seen a couple of them. I mean, you can see why she doesn't work in company. She can go around there in 59 pretty easy, Joe.
Yeah, and you, again, Mike, going back to the ears, has her ears straight up. And again, on April 18th, she went 59 flat. I don't think they're trying to replicate that whatsoever. She's fit. She's coming off 2 wins in a row. So I think this is just something nice and happy. And you could see her. The rider isn't asking her whatsoever. Jose Ortiz, a boy, just cruising around there trying to go pretty easy.
I mean, we're talking about all the horses at the top of the game here, so they're moving perfectly. If you're looking, like, if you don't follow horse race on a consistent basis, and these, you know, horses that have just got great biomechanics. I mean, moving perfectly. The riders are just sitting there motionless. They're doing everything within themselves. I mean, just perfection.
Very well bred. He's a filly by Malibu Moon, and he's been a sire of some tremendous fillies over the years. But you want to talk about coming into her own. She was just a different animal in the Honeybee and the Fantasy than she was in the first part of her career.
Yeah, I mean, she's improved, and that's, you know, one of the most dangerous horses are improving 3-year-old fillies. You know, in the spring, they can improve leaps and bounds during the spring months. And she's doing that. Pretty filly. She looks very athletic, very light on the toe. She bounces off the ground. She's, you know, I think mentally she looks good there, pulling up after her work. She's behaving herself, and I'd be very happy if I was John Ortiz. Again, look, she's checked all the boxes. The question is just ability. Is she good enough? That's the question for all of them.
And that is Jose Ortiz in the irons working this filly. No relation. But the Ortiz non-brothers with a very live mount. Look, she's going to have to take on Good Cheer, which she's done. But she was second to Good Cheer when they matched up in the Goldenrod right here at Churchill. So she has that experience over the racetrack, which is so important.
She got closer to Good Cheer than anybody. 3 lengths. Everybody else is about 5 or 6 lengths behind her.
We're going to take a break. When we return, Scott Hazelton will catch up with John Ortiz and see what his thoughts were and what he clocked quiet side in her work today. We'll be back. More on Breakfast from the Derby after this.
Points for next year's Kentucky Derby.
Since then, this road has been a thrilling and unpredictable ride. 48 races spanning 6 countries, each one a crucial step in the quest for a coveted spot in the starting gate at Churchill Downs. As with every year, this road has delivered the stories that captivate us. The established stars battling to maintain their dominance. And then there's the underdogs, rising through the ranks. You know, the ones you simply can't help but root for.
I don't know how you can't root for this horse.
They've all chased a piece of history, a chance to etch their names into the legendary tapestry of the Kentucky Derby. Now, the Derby Trail has reached its final destination, but one question remains. Who will be crowned the winner of the 151st Kentucky Derby?
We're trying to answer that question ahead of time so we can bet on it. That's the beauty of this game, isn't it? As we welcome you back, Breakfast at the Derby. We're getting close to concluding our first episode, but we have to return to Keeneland right now as Scott Hazelton standing by with John Ortiz.
One of the leading contenders for this year's Oaks on Friday. Quiet side for this man, Johnny Ortiz. She just worked here at Keeneland Racecourse. What was the plan coming into the workout this morning?
Well, this morning we just wanted to give her a maintenance half. She did exactly what we wanted to. Just a nice, steady little blowout. She went 48 and change and galloped out in a minute flat. According to my clock, it's just perfect. This is exactly what we wanted to do. And we pulled her up around the three-quarter pole. Just let her expand her lungs a little bit. Not too much, but just enough to get the job done.
She had a very productive run down at Oaklawn Park. How's she been since she's come up here to ready for this big test for the Oaks?
She's definitely come back in really good shape. We're happy with the way she physically looks and has been eating everything, and just been a bit of pleasure to have her around coming up to this race. But her training seems to be going really well. I mean, like you see down the stretch today, you can really see her extending without even being asked. I think she knows what her job is, so we just try to get it done on Friday.
When we were down at Oaklawn Park, you were ready for the fantasy. You were glowing about her workouts. I mean, you were so excited. You worked her, in fact, in one of those workouts. Are you seeing the same sort of energy, the same sort of – are you feeling the same sort of emotions when you see this filly workout as she gets ready for the Oaks?
Yeah, obviously I'm not getting on her because I think she's a little too much for me and I don't want to mess it up, but she's doing so good. I mean, I think it's scary good at how great she looks, and I think that's what I'm taking in right now is just admiring what I see.
And who'd you have on board this morning?
Jose came out and worked her.
Jose Ortiz, the regular rider for those two wins. You excited for this opportunity?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. Like I said, we did all the work already. She's here taking us for this journey, and we're just happy. Hopefully we get to write our name in the history books of the horse racing, and Mr. John Ed Anthony and myself get to enjoy this victory, or and go on from there.
Are you going to be watching any Star Wars movies on the eve of the Kentucky Oaks? What's the plan? How do you ready yourself?
Yeah, definitely a lot of Star Wars. Definitely got to do that. So something to distract us from the big event, but we're all excited. There's a lot of Star Wars jokes going around, but it is what it is. It's who we are, and we love it.
What's your favorite one? What's the favorite movie?
Man, they're all good, man. I can't, obviously the Return of the Sith is always a good one to me, but yeah, you stick to the originals.
We can't wait to see this filly on Friday. We appreciate it this morning, and good luck over in Louisville, Kentucky.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
The correct answer was Empire Strikes Back. Man. At any rate,
he had me until Star Wars, then I was gone.
Yeah, they're movies. I know you don't watch them, the big screen films. At any rate, I thought that was great what he said about Jose Ortiz, where he's like, she's too much for me. I don't want to mess it up. Because John Ortiz, he does get on the back of all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Then you can blame the rider, right, Joe? If
yeah,
it goes south.
Yeah, we're used to it. But I think that's such a big advantage, too, because I've seen Johnny, even if he doesn't work them, he'll gallop them. And, I mean, what better way to train one? He's not relying on somebody telling him. He can actually feel it. So that's such a huge advantage knowing that.
Well, John Ed Anthony putting his faith in him with the short leaf stable and the amount of success they've had in Arkansas and then the amount of success they've had nationally when you get tapped on the shoulder by a guy like that, you know that you're the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the historic stables in horse racing in the last 50, 60 years. Yeah. I mean, all the way back to Prairie Bayou,
With Lob Lolly back in the day, now it's short leaf. But
exactly.
Yeah, the history of them, it's pretty impressive. The weather is changing a little bit. We've had some more rain. You can see the condition of the racetrack. We're expecting a couple of dry days. Anything past a 3-day forecast, I don't trust. But it looks like we're going to have a smattering of showers throughout the week.
Yeah, I don't think it's hit and miss, right? When there's showers like this, you don't know when it's going to come, when it is. So, yeah, I mean, Chad Brown kind of said it the best, I think. You could work over this track if you needed to, but you also have the option knowing that a couple of dry days are coming up. So it's only 61. I mean, it's 61 degrees here, so I'm not sure why you'd be wearing a jacket, but you can go ahead and work your horse.
Don't ask me. Ask Joe Skim Milk Talamo over there. Right now, let's go to Gabby Gaudet standing by.
Is going to earn points.
A little bit of technical difficulty. We'll fix that for you in just a moment, and we'll replay that interview she had with Louis Saez. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern on that. As we are working up to tomorrow, it's going to be dry. We're going to see a slew of horses on track. For most of them, tomorrow is the day of their final Derby work.
Yeah, and it's a key point. I think one of the things I do like that they have a training window for the Derby horses, Joe. I think. I mean, if you're not familiar with it, you know, training usually happens at most racetracks between the hours of 5:36 till 10 o'clock, and it's just after the break. There's a slew of horses that come on. So to give the Derby horses their best opportunity, they kind of give them a 15-minute window when the track's quiet. I like that idea. I've always thought it would be a good idea to have a TV show where you have like an hour or 15 minutes, and then just let each horse go out one at a time. You could kind of film them one at a time, but trainers like to go at different times.
Like a whole show based around the works?
Yes, exactly. Like
Simon.
Centered around like a specific time for each horse to go
What
out.
do you think you're doing right now?
Yeah, but we're picking horses here and there. I like a specific time.
All right,
this horse comes out at this time, that time.
Yeah, and this time we're going to put you in concussion protocol. Let's take a look at the current Kentucky Derby leaderboard, Joe.
This guy.
Yeah, well, give me crap about my jacket. I'll punch back, my friend. Here's a look at the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. And once again, it's not who's at the top that's really going to change. It's who's at the bottom. Neo Equos. There was some news about Safi Joseph going to Flavien Prat with the understanding that if Baeza does get in, Flavien's going to ride that one. You have the Eclipse Award-winning jockey still taking calls right now for Derby mounts.
Best jockey in the country sitting on the bench right now.
Again, we spoke about that earlier with Todd Fletcher. It just goes to show how truly tough this game is. I mean, Flavien Prat last year could not have done a thing wrong. Broke 2 records that we probably thought would have taken another possibly decade to break or something like that. And again, he's on the outside looking in one of the biggest races in the world.
That's pretty amazing. But we're going to have, out of the 24 horses on that list, we're going to have at least 12 of them working tomorrow, maybe closer to 15 or 18.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I want to see some of their final works, what these trainers are going to do. And you're going to see a lot of difference in the way some of these trainers approach it. I mean, a week out, you'll see a lot of works that are very similar, but there are different approaches. And we saw that with Mark Casse. He's elected not to work any horses going forward.
Let's check in once again with Andy Biancone.
Mike, I had one birthday request, and it was to come give some pets to Cole Battle. Obviously, the little horse who has stolen everybody's heart on this road to the Kentucky Derby. A serious contender throughout the Arkansas Derby Trail, but he has been doing awesome here. Assistant trainer Bethany Taylor told me he's been pretty forward here at Churchill Downs, training beautifully, and she said, be careful, he will nip because he's feeling good, but he jumped right on his breakfast as soon as he got home. He's munching on his hay right now. Just really in good spirits and taking in everything right now, but certainly the little horse that can, and one that has pretty much stolen everybody's heart.
Important going into the Derby. He has the most wins of any of these horses.
5 wins. He's won more than anybody.
At some point, that makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it does. And he's obviously a very sound horse. He hasn't missed a beat since his debut last July. So the fact that, they trained him a little too late going into the Arkansas Derby, and he still ran a respectable race, I think is good. I think he's going to improve. And we saw him earlier. I like the way he galloped. He's a true kind of old pro with his head bowed the way he gallops.
And Joe, you've ridden for big stables, you've ridden for small stables. For a guy like Lonnie Briley, who has, I think in his career, barely 500 wins, and he's never even been, considered on a national stage to be in this spotlight. As a jockey, is it any different working with guys like that? Do you approach it any different? Do they approach it any different? Can you feel that palpable difference from a Steve Asmussen to a Lonnie Briley, or is it just the same? Get the horse ready to go.
I mean, it's definitely the same. Get the horse ready to go. But for someone like that, I mean, that's completely life changing. He's waking up, 4 o'clock in the morning for 30, 40 years, and he finally gets this chance. I mean, it's completely life-changing. But, I mean, you could just tell in interviews and stuff that he's done with the horse. I don't think he's trying to change anything, just keep with the same routine, and I think that's the important thing to do.
Yeah, an older guy. I mean, this horse gave him his first greatest stakes win. Just think about that for a second. I mean, like you said,
That's
34
incredible.
years. That's unreal. So, I mean, to put it in, I don't know what the analogy is. I mean, you know, Asmussen, Pletcher, Baffert, they're kind of Walmart, Amazon. This guy's like the liquor store on the corner. You know? He's just trying every day, trying to make some sales and get it done, and then hopefully he hits it big.
To be fair, I could be seen more at a liquor store on the corner than a Walmart. But we will have Cole Battle's final preparation. He's one of them that is expected to be hitting the track tomorrow. So training hours wrapping up here. They wrapped up a little bit ago for the Derby and Oaks horses. Tomorrow it's going to be a much busier day. Another thing I want to ask you about, Joe, Santa Anita, where you were based for years, busiest training center in the world. How does that compare to, you know, the horses coming from back west, coming to Churchill this week? Does it get as busy here as we get to see every day out there?
I mean, yes, it does. But, you know, to Simon's point earlier, I think just about every track in America has done this where for all of the breaks, the first 10 to 15 minutes is workers only. And I think that's made a huge difference with everything, with not only injuries, but with freak accidents in the morning, because horses that are jogging or galloping, maybe they could see something and spook, and then something weird could happen. So with workers only, the first 10, 15 minutes, I think has been really, really good across every track in America.
I agree with that.
I mean, you reduce the variables, right? I mean, that's
I mean, look, how wide's the track? I don't know, 80 feet, 90 feet, right? And you got 200 horses, some going this way, some jogging that way. I mean, there's a lot that can go. Young horses, old horses. So the thing with training horses, and Bill Mott told me this from the day I worked him, you got to pay attention. You got to notice differences. That's why you got to be there every day. It's not rocket science. If a horse walks to the track, spooks every day at the gap, and then one day he doesn't do it, that's a red flag. And you've just got to eliminate risk. That's all you have to do. You have to take the window of risk from this and just narrow it down to that, whether it's walking in the stall, getting on the van. You know, they can scrape their hip going in the stall, hit it on the screw eye. You have to try and eliminate that as much as possible. It's just eliminating risk.
Let's check in once again with Andy B. and Cone.
I feel like we feed horses every day, but it's not every day you get to prepare breakfast for a Kentucky Derby contender. So we're going to cook breakfast for American Promise. Keep it pretty simple here at the Lucas Barn. He's going to get added vitamins and supplements later in the afternoon. But for breakfast, Coach likes to keep it plain. American Promise will get a 3-quart scoop of sweet feed. Now, every trainer is different. Sweet feed is usually complete. It's a complete feed. It has all the nutrients and vitamins a horse really needs for a very active lifestyle, and it's a very high energy feed. Like I said, trainers will often add additional supplements, but Wayne likes to feed those for dinner. So very plain for breakfast. He also adds a scoop of plain oats, and then we'll just give this a little mix. And every trainer is different. My dad, for example, will do more sweet feed and less oats, and then the amount of oats and sweet feed changes for dinner as well based on what the horses have done for exercise that day. And all trainers kind of have their preference in what kind of sweet feed they use. Some people like Echelon, Race 13, a lot of different brands, kind of like how you'd have food for your pet at home, but can really add whatever you think they need. A lot of trainers even cook oats in the afternoon, so that kind of just helps bring out the starchiness of the oats and also can give horses a little extra hydration. But again, Coach Wayne Lucas keeping it plain and simple here. We got a scoop of sweet feed, we got a scoop of grain, and every barn is different. Some trainers like to feed all at one time, but in Wayne's barn, he kind of likes to feed each horse individually as they get done with their morning works, whatever it is. So this is his breakfast, and we're gonna go ahead and feed him. He's excited. Give him a little bite now, that way we don't get bitten. So I always like to let them have a little bite, that way they're less likely to bite you. Can get pretty happy. And then he's just got hooks here, and he's gonna jump right on his feed. Good boy.
I get the feeling that she's done that before.
Yeah. once or twice.
That's great. Actually, in 25 years of this network, I've never seen anyone feed a horse before. And we take these things for granted. And Joe, we've been talking about this all the time. The things that you and Andy find mundane and everyday, people like us that aren't horsemen, we don't get to see that.
I love the fact that she let that horse eat that feed first, because I can't tell you how many times I've had that before, where a horse tries to like bite your shoulder. So that I love seeing that. But again, it's stuff to us, it's almost like second nature. It's hard to explain it. You just know. But she did a great job explaining that.
Yeah, she did. That was a great behind-the-scene look. The show continues on YouTube. Keep joining us on the FanDuel TV YouTube channel. It's at FanDuel Racing. And we are going to continue to bring you Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup every day through Thursday, May 1st. We still got some work to do here at Churchill Downs. Let's check in once again with Gabby Gaudet.
All right, it's game on with Gabby. I am so excited about my guests today. We've got Irad and Jose Ortiz. Let's go. We're here with the Ortiz brothers, Irad and Jose. It's the cup challenge. They go back and forth tapping the cup, and the goal is to not crack the egg. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
Rápido.
Fast, come on. Yeah, faster.
You gotta hit the cup. Got me.
The next challenge here is the tennis ball challenge. You have to put your hands on top of mine. I'm going to drop the ball and then see if you guys can catch it. Let's start with Irad, okay?
Oh, you did it! Yeah. It's hard.
Look at this.
I get in the hand, but he's low.
All right, he cannot be stopped. I'm going to shout out body parts, like foot, shoulder, whatever. You have to touch them. And then when I yell out whip, you have to grab the whip and see who can get it first. All right, ready? Foot, knees, shoulders, nose, whip. All right, best out of three. Best out of three. Here we go. Knees, nose, ears, shoulders, whip. Head, ears, knees, shoulders, nose, toes, whip.
I grab it. Stronger, stronger. I grab it first and he took it away from me. See that in slow-mo. We gotta review that. We gotta review that.
I grab it.
We're going to have more Game On with Gabby each and every day. Look, it's the spirit of competition. It doesn't matter if you guys are on the racetrack or if you're back in the room playing cards. The competition between jockeys is intense.
I will say, I think there should have been an inquiry on that last one. I think Jose had the whip there.
Right. I pulled out.
That's a DQ, but...
It was a game for speed or strength. If it's for strength, it's all fair in love and war. At any rate, the sibling rivalry continues between the Ortiz brothers. We'll see it on the track here on the first Saturday in May. And just about every day this week leading up to it. Jose taking his tack to Churchill Downs last year away from the bright lights of New York, and he has really made a name for himself in the Midwest as he's been one of the best riders in the country. He already has an Eclipse Award for years, but you know, he changed his tack, and it has been fantastic for him.
Hard to leave New York, but he did it for family reasons. At least that's what I read. Was settled here in Kentucky, and I mean, going to Louisiana. We spoke to him. Well, I think you were with me at the set when we said, "Do you like Louisiana?" He goes, "I love it.
Yeah.
Loves the fairgrounds."
And I think that was so smart too. When he did move here, he was cognizant enough to know that so many of those trainers go to New Orleans that come back here to Kentucky, and I think that's only strengthened his business even more doing that this winter.
We'll have more from Gabby, like I said, throughout the week. Right now, though, as we continue on with the show, we're going to take a look at some Derby profiles here. Let's take a look at Sovereignty. This horse, very talented, runner-up in the Florida Derby, but he was already a winner in the Fountain of Youth. He's got the Derby points, and he's got the right trainer for the job in Bill Mott.
Yeah, Bill's won a Derby, but it was kind of controversial via DQ, and he'd like to win one in his own right, kind of like Brad Cox and Mandaloon. So this was back in the Fountain of Youth, and yeah, it wasn't his best race, but I don't think it needed to be looking at the Kentucky Derby. I think he's coming into it in good shape. I thought, he got him outside there, and he certainly has got a good run, but my concern with him, Joe, I wouldn't say a concern, but I say against a horse like Journalism, I think he's always going to play a little bit of catch-up. I know Journalism, I think, has a little bit more tactical punch than maybe Sovereignty.
I totally agree. And again, this was off about a 6-month layoff. He hadn't run since the street since in October there, and he just gets up. I'm not so sure if he didn't maybe, because I know he ran a 95 Byron here, and then went back to a 92 in the Florida Derby. So I don't know if he might have regressed just a touch, and then now he's coming into here even better.
So let's get back to Gabby Gaudet. She's standing by with Luis Saez.
Louis, you just worked Good Cheer. What are your initial thoughts of the work?
Actually, pretty smooth work. She doing super. She did everything perfect. I feel like she came out like nothing, not really tired. So we have a lot of horse.
Talk to me about her mind. When you were just standing at the gap before the track opened, she was so calm, so classy. That goes a long way.
Oh yes, she have a lot of class. That filly is like you ride a pony. She have good mind. She never do nothing crazy. She do anything you ask. So that's a pretty nice filly to be around.
I'm going to ask you kind of a technical question. You have this in your ear. Did anybody talk to you throughout the work today?
Yeah, the trainer, Brad, was telling me how fast we're going and how good she was looking.
Did he sound happy?
Oh yeah, he sound happy. I let her gallop now after work, and she did super. She don't really want to stop, really.
That's awesome. To Pan Street, you said you're going to work him tomorrow. Talk to me a little bit about him and overall how you think. You've ridden the Derby before. He's a lightly raced horse, but how you think he is doing coming into the Derby?
Yeah, Tapan Street is a pretty nice horse. He got good tactical speed. We're going to try to break from them and round to the first turn and try to find a good spot because the Derby is a lot of going on, Everybody's go all over the place. The first turn is the key to find the good spot. So we're going to let him run from there, and after we get to the first turn, then we decide what spot we're going to take.
I love it. We'll talk more about this later. I love the strategy and the tactics, but thanks for the time this morning, Louis.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Thank you.
And that's going to just about do it for us here at Breakfast at the Derby. This was episode 1. 6 more to come. We're going to be bringing you coverage every morning from now until the Thursday. Actually, they call it Thurby around here, don't they?
Right. It's 5-0 Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Wednesday is a new day. That's Wednesday. Thurby. And then Oaks and Derby.
What's Wednesday called?
Wednesday.
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 That flew right over my head.
You guys need to go home and warm up.
Get those hand warmers tomorrow, Mike.
This guy. For everyone who made this show possible, except Simon, I want to thank you for joining us here at Breakfast at the Derby. For Simon, Joe, Maria, Kate and Gabby, Scott and Andy. This was Breakfast at the Derby. We're serving it up again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.